Philadelphia, July 4th, 1776. The summer heat clung to the cobblestones like sweat. From the narrow windows of the Pennsylvania State House, a faint candlelight flickered across the square, the light of men birthing a nation. Inside, the air was thick with argument, ink, and destiny. Elias Harrington waited outside the great oak doors, his hat clutched to his chest. He was no politician, not even a soldier, just a watchmaker from Boston, 28 years old, called here on an errand that should have been simple, to return Thomas Jefferson's repaired pocket watch. Yet as he stood in that hall, he could feel something vast and invisible shifting, like the earth before an earthquake. The muffled voices on the other side of the door, Adams's fire, Franklin's wit, Jefferson's precision, seemed to pulse with the heartbeat of history. He glanced at the clock above the entrance, nearly midnight. He turned Jefferson's watch in his palm, admiring his own craftsmanship. The gears gleamed, the brass polished to a mirror. But then he noticed something odd beneath the glass. Tiny, deliberate scratches, faint as spider silk. He tilted the face toward the candlelight. The marks formed a message, almost invisible. A.G. knows. Do not trust the courier. His heart froze. A.G. Anna Green. He hadn't heard that name in months. She'd been his childhood friend in Boston, clever, fearless, with eyes that saw more than they should. But since the war began, she had vanished, rumored to be working as a messenger for the Patriots. Elias's fingers trembled. Why would her name appear on Jefferson's watch? Before he could think further, the doors swung open with a sudden groan. The men emerged one by one, solemn, exhausted, radiant. Jefferson carried a folded parchment as if it were scripture. Adams walked beside him, muttering, "Now the real war begins." Benjamin Franklin paused when he saw Elias. The old man's gaze, sharp and weary, seemed to weigh him in an instant. "You look troubled, young man," Franklin said softly. "No, sir. Just here to deliver your colleague's watch." Franklin smiled faintly. "Then tonight you deliver more than time." He passed on, leaving Elias stunned. Moments later, a roar rose from the streets, wild, disbelieving joy. A rider shouted from the courthouse steps, waving his hat. "Independence! Independence has been declared!" The crowd erupted. Bells rang, muskets fired into the air, and voices swelled into something like a hymn. Elias stepped outside into the sea of light and noise. He had never seen such a thing. Merchants embracing beggars, old soldiers weeping openly, mothers holding their children high as though to show them the dawn of the world. For the first time he felt it, hope, fierce and fragile. But hope can cast long shadows. Amid the cheering, Elias sensed movement behind him. A hand, gloved, firm, settled on his shoulder. He turned. A man stood there, tall, in a dark blue officer's coat trimmed with silver. His accent was unmistakably British. His expression polite, almost pleasant, the kind of smile that hides a blade. "Mr. Harrington," the officer said quietly, "such a curious place for a watchmaker to linger." Elias straightened. "Do I know you, sir?" "Not yet, but you've been repairing more than watches, haven't you?" The word sent a chill through him. "I'm not sure what you mean." "Oh, I think you do." The man leaned closer, his breath faintly smelling of gin and smoke. "Tell Miss Green that her next message won't reach New York, and tell General Washington—" He paused, letting the noise of the celebration fill the space between them. "The Crown already knows about his little spy ring." Elias's throat tightened. "I don't know, General," but the officer was already gone, melting into the drunken crowd, his coat vanishing into the torchlight. Elias stood alone beneath the ringing of the Liberty Bell, the world's noise fading to a distant hum. He felt the weight of Jefferson's watch in his hand, the silent ticking heart of a nation not yet born. He opened it once more. The hands pointed now to 12 past midnight. Somehow the clock had begun to move again. He whispered into the wind, "Anna, what have you done?" The taverns blazed with light that night. In every corner of Philadelphia, men toasted freedom with ale, sang songs of rebellion, and dreamed of a republic that would outlive them all. But Elias Harrington sat alone in a small room above a carpenter's shop, the watch ticking on the table before him. He couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Anna's face, heard the officer's words. "The Crown already knows." At last he rose and crossed to the window. The city slept uneasily under the veil of smoke and stars. A rider galloped down the street below, his cloak flaring like a shadow. On his saddlebag glimmered the seal of the Continental Congress. Elias's instinct told him something was wrong. He grabbed his coat and the watch, then hurried down the stairs. When he reached the street, the rider had already turned a corner, heading toward the river. Elias followed at a distance, silent as a ghost. Down by the wharf, the smell of tar and salt mixed with the stench of fish and sweat. The rider dismounted, speaking to a man near the docks, a man Elias recognized from the marketplace, Samuel Dodd, a printer's apprentice, as he had claimed. But now Dodd handed over a sealed packet wrapped in oilcloth. The rider gave a curt nod, pocketed it, and turned toward the boats moored in shadow. Elias's heart pounded. He crept closer until he could see the wax seal glinting in the lantern light. A British crown, not the crest of Congress. Betrayal. Before he could react, the rider wheeled around, eyes narrowing. "Who's there?" Elias turned and ran. Boots thudded behind him, shouts rising in the dark. He ducked between barrels, sprinted past the tavern, through the alleys until the sounds faded. Finally, he collapsed in an alleyway, lungs burning. He clutched the pocket watch, still ticking, as if it could measure more than time, as if it could count the seconds before his world unraveled. He realized then that his life, and perhaps the fate of the revolution itself, had just changed forever.